where are you from, what and where did you study?
Well, I'm actually from Stellenbosch University. I was born in Stellenbosch, so it was appropriate that I would go back and study there. I grew up in Johannesburg and came back to do my master's and PhD at Pretoria University, and I stayed. Fell in love with the university, the people, got married and had children in Pretoria.
What sparked your interest in your field of study?
Well, I must be honest, it was a gorgeous, young-looking, blue-eyed gentleman standing next to me as a first-year student who told me he was going to study plant pathology. And I said, "What's plant pathology?" And he told me, because his uncle was a plant pathologist. And I'm not sure if it was the blue eyes or just the fascination with being a plant doctor, but I decided, plant pathology, here I come.
And we know, Prof, that you are a pioneer yourself. So what other researchers have influenced your work?
Oh, Professor Jan Coetzee. So we called him Bali, and he ended up becoming my stepfather, strangely enough. And he was a very famous plant pathologist, and he actually got the Agriculturist of the Year award in South Africa. He developed Lisbon Estate, he developed several farms, Westphalia Estate. He was a manager there, and he was most famous for citrus black spot research.
Can you share a memorable moment or a breakthrough moment in your career?
I think every time I stand on the stage and I introduce a new master's or PhD student, it's memorable. Just to stand next to particularly a PhD student, and you just see that sparkle in the eye, and they're so proud, and they look into the audience and they stand next to, and just before you introduce, you usually look at your student and then there's just a connection between your eyes and you just smile at each other, and you can just see they're so proud of standing there, and I can just feel their energy and appreciation, and that's memorable. And what's a big breakthrough moment? Well, I think my PhD work on biological control, having one of the first biocontrol products registered, patented in the world, and having a fantastic paper publication out of that annual review, and I still get cited for that the most.
Can you tell us about the challenges that you faced in your research, and how did you overcome these challenges?
You know, the biggest challenge was being a female in a predominantly male world. I was usually the only female in a meeting room. You know, automatically when the tea comes in, then everyone looks at you to serve the tea. And fortunately, I was a big rebel at school. So I would then purposefully really sit back and refuse to serve the tea, because I never saw myself as the tea girl. I wanted to be a scientist, and a well-known scientist. And that was a difficult time in my life. We didn't have maternity leave. I had to put in leave when I had my babies. There wasn't a creche at school. It was difficult to do breastfeeding. I had to rush home and breastfeed, and I was determined to breastfeed as long as I could. It's maybe a irrelevant thing for most people, but when you have little children, it's very important to be there for them. And then it's difficult to balance your career and being a mother. And those were my challenges.
So how do you stay motivated and inspired to do your work?
You know, when I trot to work in the mornings, by the time I get here, I'm just so ready to go, and I can't wait for the day to unfold. I love it. I love just being there and thinking creatively and looking at all the students and the sparkles in their eyes. And when I see the lights go out, I know it's time to put more energy in and light the candles again, because it's a journey. It's not easy. It's not meant to be easy. Life's not easy. But if you have energy and passion, you can make it. You can do well. And you know what's the worst part of the story? It's actually quite easy to become the best in the world. If you really want to, you can do it. I never thought I would become a professor, never mind a well-known scientist. And I say a well-known scientist because I'm currently a B-rated scientist under the NRF system. And it's achievable, you can do it. But you have to put your mind to it, and you must want to do it, and then you can do it. Anyone can do it, anyone can achieve it. But you have to have your dream and follow your dream and make it true.
So currently, how are you managing or balancing actually your professional and personal life?
Okay, my professional life currently is dominating my whole existence, unfortunately. But it's fine because now I'm a grandmother, so the rest of my time I can spend with my grandchildren. But when you start your career, you must understand that you will find it difficult to balance a family life, and particularly if you have children, you must dedicate time to them. And finding that balance will mean a lot of stress, and your career will have an impact on your career. Your publications will go down, but it's fine. You can then build it later on. So that's the normal ebb and flow of life. And you need to ride the wave as it comes and just never fall off the board.
Can you please share a funny story or an interesting story from your research experience or that experience?
One day I had a bus full of students, and we were in the avocado orchard and we were doing sampling, and I was driving the bus, and there was about 8 students in the bus, and we were sampling, and I was busy driving going up this hill, and it was sandy roads, and one of the students was left behind, and she came running, and I thought I'm going to just drive away for her slowly, but I was watching her in the mirror and I didn't notice, but I was going up a bank, and the next minute the bus fell on its side. And I felt terrible, and the one student injured their finger, and we rushed off to the hospital with her, but that was a very important lesson, to be mindful when you drive on gravel roads and up the mountains, particularly if you have students with you. But I can tell you another funny story. One day we were in a pack house, and I took my little son with me, and he was about 3 years old. And another important lesson in life, don't take children into a pack house. Because while we were talking, he put his little hand on the conveyor belt, and the next minute his little arm got pulled into the conveyor belt. And he was screaming, and we couldn't switch off the conveyor belt. And another important lesson was they didn't have emergency stops at the time. So there this little kid was hanging mid-air with his arm in the conveyor belt, and you can imagine. I was distraught, rushed to hospital. I thought he's going to lose his arm. Fortunately, he was young, and the doctor said, don't worry, they bounce back. So today he's still got an arm, and I've learned a very important lesson, always to be mindful. But these were all horrible stories. Let me think of a nice story.
What advice would you give someone starting off in their career?
You must want to do it. And you must be passionate about it. Otherwise, I can't imagine how frustrating it must be to do a job and you hate it. And you must find the joy in your job. You must find that passion, and you must appreciate having the opportunity. And sometimes life is all about timing. You may not be at the right time, at the right place, but then fortune favors the prepared mind. If you're prepared and you've got a plan and you've got a vision where you want to go, you must just go for it. And never, ever, ever, ever give up.
How do you think your field of study will evolve in the future, and what excites you about it?
Well, I'm now, the most interesting part is I'm part of the World Planet Prize, and I really want to create an African World Planetary Prize, so that to me is very exciting, to work with scientists through the African Academy of Science in all different disciplines, and to truly prepare and create a transdisciplinary program for agriculture and food, and that's really where I'm going and what I want to achieve in the next phase of my life, and give back to society and guide many young people to achieve heights. And that's the reward we get in life, is to give back to the system.